Hi guys, Knife Edge UK here, bringing to you today another little overview slash sort of review of a knife within my collection. This is the Herman Knives Vespertilio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You might have seen Herman feature quite heavily on Nick Shabazz's channel. Certainly, I mean, you're not going to be watching this and not be aware of Nick, I'm sure. And this is my favourite design visually from Herman. So before we get into the knife itself, we'll pop it down and do a couple of size comparisons that are hopefully somewhat useful to some of you. Here it is against a 3.5 XM18 from Hindra. Here it is against a large Sebenza 21, and we'll pop it against, what else have I got around, guys? What have I got? What have I got? Oh no, I'm completely out of sorts. I haven't picked up enough stuff. Okay, here it is against a Hindra Jurassic, and you know what? Because I haven't bought out enough knives on the table that aren't silly and custom, here's a ruler next to it. You can see the blade's a little over 3 inches. And it's quite an approachable size. I think it's something that will work for a lot of people in a lot of environments. Obviously, if you're in the US and you're carrying this, the blade is over 3 inches, so if that's an issue for you, that's a thought. And there it is next to a small chamois. This is a 3-inch chamois. I say small, there's also a 2.75, but anyway. Right, we're over a minute and a half, so let's get on with the knife itself, because I don't want to be here all day boring you to tears. Alright, so who are Herman Knives? Herman Knives is a chap in Poland who makes largely, these are kind of CNC, high-end CNC custom, you know, they straddle that kind of, you know, CNC custom mid-tech kind of line. Really nice high quality machining, and some nice little touches as well, and there's probably a little bit more handwork in these than you might give them credit for, but it's a CNC custom kind of job. Vespertilio refers to bats, and I think there's something of this which is kind of yeah, it has that kind of vibe about it. It's a really nice kind of modified Warncliffe blade shape. You could even call it kind of a reverse Tanto kind of job. It's really nice. It's very, very functional. M390 blade. Incidentally, these knives are generally retailed by Polish Custom Knives. I'll put a link to the description below. They're really good people, really, really nice, and the service is absolutely excellent from them. So reach out to them if you've got any questions or interest in any of the stuff they have online. They'll get back to you quickly, and yeah, they're good folks. Not affiliated with them or anything like that, just really impressed with the way that they work. And forgive me, I'm going to stop that beeping noise for you. Oh, the joys of live television. I'm not going to start again because that would be professional, and we don't like professionalism. Well, we do, but not at the moment. Anyway, so basically I'm just running out of time. That's the main problem. It's not about professionalism. Anyway, right, so lovely blade, Polish Custom Knives, fabulous. Right, let's get on with it. The blade is done in this really nice kind of almost hindery kind of working finish, but a little bit lighter and a little bit more refined. The Hindra working finish is one of my favourites, but this has just got a little bit more kind of refinement about it. You can't see any of the grind lines through the finish, which is quite nice. Blade is M390, if I haven't said that already. Grind is fantastic. It's exceptionally thin and slicey. It just works really, really, really well. It's a really, I've said really about a million times already now, but it's fantastic. It's really good grind. I've just said it again. Ah, dear. Never mind. Okay, so it's a flipper, as you can tell. These run on, they are loose bearings, but they're sort of semi-loose. You can get the cages out without causing a problem. They're multi-row. As you can see, we have a proprietary pivot here. They do supply a pivot tool with them, and some of the models have a Torx pivot as well. So it does vary. The pivot tool is really well done. Yes, it's an issue in terms of if you lose it. Would I prefer... I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not a big person for proprietary hardware, but I don't hate it with the way that Herman do it. It's quite good, and the way that the handles are contoured means that the little wrench that you use to get into a pivot like this doesn't contact the scales if you have any care at all, so that's really good. Scales, as I say, are titanium. They're contoured, as I mentioned. Absolutely gorgeous milling. Incidentally, look at the reverse of that pivot. It's locked into place beautifully, no space at all around it, and then you've got a lovely piece of carbon fibre set inside that, which references back to the carbon fibre backspacer, which we'll come to. It's just really nicely done. Gorgeous fluted milling all the way across the knife, and as I say, contoured handle scales for comfort. Really well done. These are kind of a sub-frame lock. People have different inset liner lock or sub-liner lock, I suppose. Not really a sub-frame lock. It's a lovely titanium bar that's inserted into the frame, beautifully milled inside and secured on the inside. It works really well. It's got quite soft lock bar tension, no lock stick, feels very secure, and it also makes the knife's action feel particularly enjoyable. And we'll come to the action in a moment once we're finished on the handle. The backspacer is carbon fibre with this really nice point, which is really good. That's really well done. Centering on this one is perfect. Incidentally, you do see pictures on the website, and sometimes they seem to arrive slightly off center, but you can see what you're expecting from the website, which is good of them. Be nice to see them bang on center every time you see the photo, but you know, that's a relatively small nitpick. Really interesting milled pocket clip. They do this really nice thing, Herman, where they do this dish out underneath the pocket clip, so you've got a bit more space under it, even though it's a milled clip. Really clever, really works. Wish more people would do it. It's really nice. It's maybe just a little bit sharp on the tip, not from the point of view of ergonomics. Ergonomically, I don't feel that clip at all. This is a fantastic knife in the hand. But when it comes to sort of going into the pocket, if you kind of, you might end up messing something up, or if you catch that, it's relatively sharp and small. It could cause issues. From an aesthetic point of view, I think it works so well, I wouldn't really want to see them change it. It's not massively deep carry. You have about this much of the knife left out of your pocket, but I don't think it's egregious. The screws in the side go straight through to the other side. That's something which some people might not like that. I don't mind it personally. I've never had a screw strip out in titanium. I don't really think it's a genuine problem. Regardless, they finish the ends of the screws with these lovely kind of ball polish, and it just... all Hermans have this, and it's become kind of a signature thing, which I don't think I'd really want to see change, so I really like that. As I've touched on already, the ergonomics are fantastic on this knife. It sits really quite well in a number of positions. If you look at it in the hand, sorry, it's a rather awkward angle here under the camera, your fingers flow into it really nicely. It sets on the end. For me, this is a full 4-finger grip. I think you could still have slightly bigger hands and still be all the way on the tail of the knife, and it's really good. This is quite a sharp end to the knife, but when it comes to actually holding it, it's no problem at all. Action is one of the party pieces of a lot of Hermans, and this is a full drop shot action. This has absolutely no side-to-side blade play. It doesn't have a heavy blade, and it drops shut in a really nice, controlled manner, as you can hopefully see. The detent is lovely and crisp and poppy. It's quite a hard detent, but because the lock bar is not very hard, it doesn't have kind of a particularly unpleasant feeling. The flipper tab in particular is... some will find that maybe a little bit pointed, and overextended fidgeting, you might find that starts to wear your finger slightly. It can kind of be deployed as more of a push button sort of combination or a light switch. Honestly, I think the detent on this piece at least is so well tuned, I don't find it causes a problem, but I do flip a lot of knives a lot, so I probably killed some of the sensitivity in that finger from that. Anyway, it's very good. The detent's really perfectly tuned. The drop is nice and smooth. You can get it to do a full kind of guillotining underneath the camera. It's not so easy. Now I'm not going to get it under... oh, there you go. But it does just a really nice, refined, smooth drop shot action. Just closing it down like that's lovely as well. Has fantastic sounds. Something with Hermans... I think because of this relatively slimline lock bar that's inset into the frame, which obviously means you can't, interfere with it like you would on a frame lock either, they have just really cool noises. I'm going to shut up for a second so you can hear the knife. It's just lovely. Has a lovely sort of ring to it as it opens, and like a lovely sliding noise when it closes. It's really, really nice to use. As I say, it's fantastic ergonomically as well. There's lots of Herman models. A lot of them are bigger. This is one, I think this is the smallest knife in their range, along with the Sting. This thing I find a really odd looking knife. The Ishtar I think is really beautiful. The Slim's quite nice as well. The Dragonfly is a really beautiful knife, but really quite large. For me, this is probably, obviously this is a completely personal thing. This is probably the home run. Something that has been mentioned, I think Nick mentioned this in his review of the knife, is that when you set the knife in your hand to flip, this end is a little bit pointed. Yeah, I mean, depending on your hand size, I find that if I have a knife like that, I just sort of have it in my palm and then I flip it. It doesn't, I just sort of naturally move my hand. But equally, yes, if you are pushing it back into your palm to secure it, I don't think there's any real need to push it into your hand, to be honest with you. But if you do, yes, that will probably start to feel like quite a sharp point. I think it's a relatively minor nitpick, which I think is probably what Nick said as well. But it's there and it's worth noting. Apart from that, I honestly think these are quite underrated. They don't seem to get quite as much love, in the sort of CNC, high-end CNC world as, Skiff or Craig Brown, Koenig, Shiro, any of these companies. Herman seem to fly under the radar a little bit more. That might be because, they're not quite as accessible. It might be because it's a slightly smaller shop. I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with these knives. These are excellently done, and they have a certain character about them. There's a little bit of flair and a little bit of love about them. These are all intangible things, I know, that I think sort of takes them slightly above some of the other sort of high-end CNC knives out there. Other criticisms, we're already at 11 minutes, so I should shut up pretty quickly. I don't really have any other criticisms, to be honest with you. There's that slight pointiness. One thing with this particular model is you can see the lock bar intersection where it meets the blade tang just sits on the outside there. You can't feel it. It's more just an aesthetic thing. It would have been kind of nice maybe if the tang had been slightly longer, slightly shorter, and the lock bar slightly longer to sort of tuck that inside. I mean, we're getting to ridiculous nitpicks here, but that's it really, guys. It's a great knife. Herman's are really good. I wouldn't hesitate on the evidence of this knife. I need to get others in my hand. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this knife to anyone who was after this sort of layout and this sort of blade shape with these sorts of specs. It's fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.